before anything else settles in, pause for a moment. There is something near your life right now that should not have lingered this long, and your body has already noticed it. You were not scrolling by chance. You were guided, drawn, selected in a quiet way that does not rush or frighten, only invites. Right now, unseen hands are arranging understanding around you, and a message is forming that needs your presence to fully arrive. There is an energy close to your life, something that has lingered longer than it should, something that has watched and waited, hoping to remain unnoticed. It did not arrive loudly. It did not announce itself. It stayed quiet on purpose, hoping you would explain the feeling away and keep moving as usual. Heaven has seen it. Nothing near you has gone unseen. Protection is already active, steady and calm, not reactive, not angry, simply precise. You are being safeguarded because you matter more than you realize. What approaches your awareness now is not random curiosity or passing noise. It carries intention, and that intention is being brought into the light. This is not about fear, and it is not about drama. It is about awareness. You do not need to confront anything yet. You only need to listen. Every word you hear next is meant to settle into you slowly, like truth remembering where it belongs. There is urgency here, yes, but it is the urgency of alignment, not panic. Something important is shifting in the unseen, something that concerns your path, your safety, and the next season of your life. You may not see it clearly yet, and that is intentional. Revelation unfolds in layers, and your soul is ready for the first one now. Stay with this moment, not because you are afraid, but because you are protected, chosen, and prepared for what is being revealed as we speak. What they cannot grasp, no matter how closely they watch you, is the weight of the blessing resting on your life. And that is precisely why these words are meeting you now, at this fragile and powerful moment. You are not hearing this because you searched for it, but because nothing harmful is permitted to reach someone heaven has already claimed. And even if you have been too tired to notice, too wounded to connect the signs, or too overwhelmed by daily noise to trust your own intuition, the unseen has been fully alert the entire time. You may have felt scattered lately, carrying a quiet ache you never named, sensing that something felt off without knowing why. And that is not weakness. It is the strain of a spirit that has been stretched because change has already begun. There were moments when you paused before opening a door, reread a message twice, or looked around without knowing why. That hesitation was not random. That was awareness trying to rise before your mind caught up. Heaven has been tracking every movement around you, every subtle shift, every odd delay and lingering presence. And what looks like coincidence in the physical world is echoing something far more deliberate in the spiritual one. That sense of waiting, the feeling of being observed, the heaviness that comes and goes without explanation, none of it arrived randomly, because the moment attention turned toward your life, protection moved faster. Pause. Before anything could cross a line, your name was spoken where decisions are made, and guardians were positioned long before you realized you needed them, because you have never been alone, not even in the moments when you felt abandoned or unseen. And here is the shift. This is no longer just about a person, a rumor, or a strange situation that made your instincts flare. It is about a larger pattern that has been circling your life quietly, studying your growth, measuring your resolve, waiting for the smallest opening. It began as attention, then it became interest, then observation, then quiet involvement. And before you realized it, intention began to take shape. There have been conversations about you that you were never meant to hear, exchanges of information meant to limit you, plans designed to slow the momentum you have only recently begun to feel. And you sensed it without proof, that pressure at the edge of something new, that awareness that you were standing on the threshold of a breakthrough. You were right. Whenever forward movement begins, resistance sharpens its focus, and that is why scrutiny has intensified, why attention feels heavier, why old energies are trying to re-enter through familiar doors. Someone knows your history, remembers your wounds, understands the version of you that once doubted yourself, and they are hoping you will identify with that past again, hoping fear or loneliness will pull you back into patterns you already outgrew. They are watching for cracks that no longer exist, unaware that forgiveness has already rewritten your story, and that what once controlled you no longer has authority. What they mistake for vulnerability is actually transformation in motion, and what they fail to see is that this moment is not just about being protected, it is about becoming. You are being observed not because you are weak, but because your strength is increasing, your awareness is sharpening, and your alignment is deepening. And that kind of growth disrupts every plan built on keeping you small. The image you cannot shake, the presence you feel without seeing, it is a symbol now, representing every hidden opposition, every quiet scheme, every influence that hoped to linger unnoticed. And it is standing there only long enough for you to recognize that it no longer has power over where you are going. If this message is speaking to your soul, don't wait, like this video and subscribe now to stay connected on this sacred journey. Declare your readiness in the comments by typing, "I am ready now." And let's take this step together in faith. That waiting car is not just metal and shadow. It mirrors every bond that drained you while pretending to nourish you, every smile that hid an agenda, every situation that seemed small until it quietly took something from your spirit. And this is why this message has reached you now. Not to frighten you, but to wake you gently before you give away any more of yourself to what never deserved access. You have been protected this whole time, even when you felt exposed, even when your home or your heart didn't feel as safe as you hoped, because there has been a presence standing between you and what meant harm, steady and unshaken, holding the line while you were still learning to trust your own inner signals. Breathe. Something has shifted, and the energy that once watched you from the shadows is now under inspection itself, because nothing hidden stays hidden forever, and those who whispered your name in rooms you were never invited into are about to be recognized for who they truly are. And now, listen closely. The plan that was meant to trap you has already folded in on itself, stalled and emptied of power. And while appearances may linger for a moment longer, momentum has been taken away, and nothing they intended can move forward. What matters now is your awareness, because your body has always known the truth before your mind caught up. That tight feeling, that quiet hesitation, that sense of something being off when words sounded sweet but energy felt wrong. Those were not doubts. They were guidance trying to keep you intact. You asked for clarity, for proof that you were not imagining the resistance, And even though you did not expect it to arrive like this is the confirmation you needed. Every delay that frustrated you, every door that closed just as you reached for it, every moment things fell apart when you wanted them to work. Those were interventions, not failures, because there was a design moving against you that you could not see yet. The moment you begin to accept this truth, the interference loses its grip, and those sent to monitor your joy, your growth, your peace will find themselves unable to locate you anymore. You are not meant to fight, explain, or defend yourself, because justice is not your assignment. Alignment is. What surrounds you now is not destruction but illumination, a fire that sharpens vision instead of burning bridges. And that is why memories are resurfacing, patterns are becoming obvious, and connections that once confused you suddenly make sense. You are starting to see why certain people vanished, why rest escaped you at night, why peace was interrupted right when it felt close, because awareness was the one thing opposition could not afford you to gain. That season is ending. Strength is no longer something you reach for, it is something you are stepping into, and with it comes discernment, courage, and a clear understanding of who and what cannot follow you forward. You do not need revenge, you do not need closure, you do not need to prove your innocence, because truth is already moving on your behalf, exposing what was concealed and returning your name to its rightful place. Someone who resented your resilience, who smiled while harboring quiet anger, who distorted your story to weaken your influence, is being revealed without you lifting a hand, and fragments of truth will reach you through unexpected voices, not to stir you but to settle you. Watch without reacting. This is what restoration looks like. Protection was only the beginning. Transformation is the victory. You are no longer governed by fear or confusion, but by clarity and inner authority. And nothing meant to harm you can succeed where you are going. This was the sign you asked for. The unveiling you sensed was near. And now that you see, choose differently. Guard your peace. Honor the exits, and trust the silence when it arrives, because you have always been watched over, surrounded by strength, favor, understanding, and truth. And what once lingered outside your life no longer has permission to stay. My beloved, these words are reaching you now with intention and weight, not drifting toward you softly but landing because something around your life has crossed into seriousness and heaven refuses to let you remain unaware. You have felt it already, that tightening in your chest, that sense of being watched or studied, that quiet discomfort you tried to reason away, and this is not imagination or anxiety, it is discernment waking up. A presence has lingered near your space longer than it should, and the one connected to it is not passing through by accident or curiosity, because this moment is marked, chosen, and wrapped in protection, even as it carries warning. Stay with me. You are not being approached to frighten you, but to keep you ahead of what would rather stay hidden, because angels have already been placed around you, forming a barrier you cannot see but can feel if you listen closely, and truth has been drawn like a line between you and anything meant to cross into harm. What your eyes miss, the unseen has already identified, and what your heart has been sensing has not gone unnoticed. Now hear this clearly. The attention focused on you is tied to something larger, unfolding in your life. Something set in motion long before you recognized it. A calling that has begun to activate and radiate in ways others can sense, even if they do not understand it. When your spirit moved forward, darkness felt the shift. And fear always watches what it cannot control. But nothing has advanced without being intercepted. Nothing has been allowed to move closer without permission, and every attempt to probe your life has already been slowed, blocked, and dismantled before it could form. Hours of stillness, waiting, and observation are not signs of power on their part, but signs of delay, because while they pause and calculate, heaven acts without hesitation. You were reached at this exact moment because timing matters, because awareness is part of your protection, and because you are strong enough now to receive truth without collapsing into fear. You are not meant to shrink or hide. You are meant to stay awake, attentive, and grounded in what your inner voice has been signaling all along. That uneasy feeling is not weakness. It is a safeguard, a spiritual sense designed to alert you when something does not align, especially when intentions are masked and plans are quiet. For every set of eyes turned toward you from the shadows, more help has already been sent, and nothing has permission to enter your space unless it passes through divine authority first. Still, comfort is not the goal, readiness is. Keep your spirit engaged, your awareness sharp, your trust steady, because vigilance is not fear, it is wisdom. You may be wondering why your life has drawn this kind of attention. Why now? Why you? And the answer is not punishment or threat. It is proximity to something significant. You are standing near a turning point, an opening that carries opportunity, provision, and purpose. And whenever something meaningful approaches, resistance tries to gather information before it loses ground. But it already has. You are sealed, surrounded, and strengthened, not because you asked loudly, but because your path matters. What is coming is not vague or symbolic. It is real, forming, and close. And this message arrives not to alarm you, but to anchor you as the unseen continues to move in your favor. You are standing so close to the edge of breakthrough that almost nothing can pull you backward now, and heaven is already leaning toward you with open hands. But before what has been prepared can fully arrive, what was hidden had to surface. What you witnessed was not allowed to unsettle you, but to sharpen you. Because awareness is the doorway to authority, and you are being trained to see rather than simply hope. The watcher was not placed to threaten you, but to wake something ancient and powerful inside you, the part that knows when energy shifts and truth presses against the surface. Pause. This is the moment where belief turns into embodied strength, where your spirit stops drifting and starts standing, and from here on, you will not move blindly through situations again. You are entering a season where perception is clear, motives are readable, and nothing slips past unnoticed. Now here is what changes. There are intentions people never say out loud, quiet agreements made behind smiles, subtle pressures and unspoken threats that only the unseen realm fully tracks. And the one positioned to observe you was sent deliberately to test whether you were still unaware or finally ready. The moment this message reached you, the focus shifted, because attention moved upward and scrutiny reversed, and what was once watching is now being examined. Nothing escapes record, and every choice carries weight, because mercy is always available, but persistence in deception has consequences that cannot be delayed forever. This situation runs deeper than appearances suggest, because the eyes turned toward you are connected to someone already within your circle, someone who knows your rhythms, your vulnerabilities, your story, and who learned to wear friendliness as cover. They never expected exposure, but secrecy cannot survive light, and every effort to gather information about your comings and goings, your solitude, your moments of exhaustion has already been rendered powerless. What was designed to limit you has lost its leverage, because you are not overlooked, not expendable, and never unguarded. Everything whispered about you, every call made in quiet corners, every distorted version of your name spoken to undermine your future has been seen, weighed, and contained. And this truth is being given to you now, not to burden you, but to steady you. You are being prepared for justice, for clarity, for a freedom that requires courage to receive. Soon you will understand the links between what felt confusing and who was involved, and the realization may surprise you, but it will not break you, because trickery no longer has authority over your path. You are not meant to retreat or shrink back into silence, but to stand present and unhidden, grounded in confidence rather than fear. Speak with assurance, claim protection without apology, and allow your space to be covered in peace, because assistance is already positioned closer than you realize. What lingers will be moved, what watches will lose sight of you, and what was concealed will be revealed gently, even through dreams, until the picture is complete. This is not the end of the unfolding, but it is the turning point, and from here forward, nothing meant to delay you will succeed in doing so. Not everything that feels calm is harmless, and not every warning arrives loudly. Someone has been paying attention to you, not with care or admiration, but with a restless curiosity that aches to understand why you continue to rise when circumstances, opinions, and quiet resistance have tried to press you down. And you need to know this clearly. Their watching does not give them power over you. They were allowed to come close only so what hid in shadows could no longer remain concealed, because while they thought proximity meant access, protection had already been positioned where they could never reach. They believed they were observing you, yet from the moment they lingered near your life, heaven placed a shield so precise that every step they took was already accounted for, every movement outweighed by guardians you cannot see but can feel if you grow still. Pause here. You are not imagining the shift in the air, because the atmosphere around you has changed as a spiritual confrontation unfolded. The instant your growth crossed a threshold others could sense but not control. You are not standing alone in this, not exposed, not vulnerable, because you are marked, chosen, and covered by a power that does not retreat. And even now protection remains stationed at your door, surrounding your space, sealing every opening with intention and authority. Yet this moment goes deeper than a parked car or a lingering presence, because behind it stands someone you once trusted, someone who smiled easily while holding resentment quietly, someone who spoke your name with frustration when they realized you would not break the way they expected. They watched you endure loss, exhaustion, and misunderstanding, and still rise, still grow, still carry hope, and that confused them because they could sense something coming toward you that they could not intercept. They knew a blessing was forming out of your weakest seasons, a breakthrough concealed inside your prayers, and instead of celebrating it, they attempted to interfere by sending eyes to gather information, to map your movements, to measure your solitude, to understand what sustained you. But everything they attempted collapsed before it could solidify, because what was captured could not be used, what was spoken could not take root, and what was planted was uprooted before it touched ground. You can see more clearly now because perception has been sharpened, spiritual sight opened, and the patterns that once confused you are aligning into truth. Now listen. The warnings that unsettled you, the dreams that lingered, the delays that frustrated you, and the strange sense of being watched were never meant to frighten you, but to protect you until awareness caught up with timing. The silence has been broken, the watcher revealed, and what once lingered unnoticed is now fully exposed, because nothing meant to harm you can remain hidden once light is directed toward it. Attempts may surface again, but every one of them will be intercepted, interrupted, and rendered ineffective. Because opposition loses strength when it is seen, and those who reach toward you with harmful intent will discover that touching what is protected burns more than it yields. Take a breath and settle into this truth. You are not in danger. You are in the center of a spiritual moment where purpose attracts resistance precisely because it is close to manifestation. This is not a battle you are required to fight, explain, or prove yourself within, because justice does not belong to you. Alignment does. You are exactly where you need to be, placed intentionally in this moment because something meaningful is about to unfold there. What was allowed to approach was only permitted to demonstrate that nothing has authority over what is destined for you, and the act of noticing was part of your preparation. Stay grounded, speak with assurance, and move with confidence rather than fear, because fear would offer an opening that is no longer available. In the coming days, momentum will return rapidly. Doors once resisted will open without effort, and what was delayed will arrive with clarity, because obstruction has lost its leverage. This is not simply about being observed. It is about your purpose becoming so visible that darkness cannot ignore it, cannot understand it, and cannot stop it. They wonder how you continue, how belief survives loss, how light returns after exhaustion, unaware that every tear was counted, every moment of weariness was witnessed, and every ounce of strength that returned to you was supplied, not self-made. This has happened before. Attempts made quietly to monitor, to interfere, to diminish, and every time they failed. But this time awareness was granted so you would remember who you are and whose you are. You carry something rare, something prophetic, something that moves the unseen, and that is why you are guarded so closely. Even now, attention has shifted, because the one who watched is being watched, and what they intended to control will only confirm the truth that you were never unprotected, never forgotten, and never without help. Now let me bring this gently into your real, ordinary life, because what has been spoken does not float above you. It meets you where you stand. If there is a car parked outside your home longer than feels normal, the first thing is simple and steady. You do not confront, you do not investigate closely, and you do not let curiosity pull you toward danger. You stay inside, you lock your doors, you turn on the lights in your home so your space feels inhabited and grounded, and you let your body settle before your thoughts start racing. Take a slow breath and remind yourself that fear is not your guide here. Presence is. If the car remains and your intuition feels tight rather than calm, reach out to someone you trust and let them know what you're seeing, not to alarm them, but so you are not holding the moment alone. If at any point you feel unsafe, You are allowed to contact local authorities and ask for a welfare check or report suspicious activity. This is not a lack of faith, it is wisdom working alongside protection. Spirit and practicality are not opposites, they support each other. While you wait, do something grounding with your body. Drink water, place your feet flat on the floor. Name out loud what you can see and hear inside your home, so your nervous system remembers that you are here and safe now. If your thoughts spiral, return to something steady like a quiet prayer spoken plainly, not as a plea but as a statement, asking God to guard your home, your rest and your awareness, trusting that protection is already in motion. If sleep feels difficult, you don't force it. You create gentleness instead. Dim the lights, sit where you feel most secure, and allow your breath to slow until your chest softens. Should the unease deepen rather than pass, take it seriously without panic. Move to a room that feels safest. Keep your phone nearby, and stay connected to someone until the feeling settles. Through all of this, remember that you are not being asked to perform or prove anything, only to cooperate with clarity and care. God's protection does not depend on your perfection, your wording, or your speed. It is already surrounding you, steady and attentive, even in moments when your hands tremble or your thoughts feel scattered. When the situation resolves and the tension eases, take time to soothe yourself afterward. Step outside in daylight, breathe fresh air, and let your body release what it held, because courage often looks quiet and ordinary. This practical awareness is not about earning safety or blessing. It is about making space for peace to land where fear briefly passed through. You are allowed to move slowly, to feel uncertain, to learn as you go, and still be held. Nothing is wrong with you for needing reassurance. You are not behind, you are not failing, and you are not alone. What has begun in the unseen does not rush you. It walks with you, step by step, as you become a little more present, a little more grounded, and a little more ready than you were yesterday. You do not need every answer right now. Some things will only make sense after they quietly move out of your life. What you have felt while listening is real, and it matters, even if you cannot yet name it clearly, because recognition often arrives before understanding. Nothing here was imagined or misplaced, and nothing needs to be forced or held tightly, since what has been spoken has already been received, recorded, and set into motion beyond what you can see. This moment does not rest on effort or vigilance, but on alignment, and that alignment has quietly taken place, as if something ancient leaned forward and said yes. If you are still here, still listening, it is not because you waited out of habit, but because something within you recognized its own echo and chose to stay present. There is no pressure to act, explain, or rush toward certainty. The unseen works without urgency and without error, and what has begun will continue to unfold in ways that meet you gently where you are. This is not a conclusion but a threshold, a subtle turning where one season loosens its grip and another begins to breathe, revealing itself gradually through clarity, peace, and an unfamiliar steadiness. As it is written, the Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore, and that watchfulness does not end when words fall silent. Let this moment close softly around you, not as an ending, but as a seal, and step forward without haste, attentive, open, and quietly expectant of what will make itself known in time. Let us gently settle into this moment of prayer, breathing slowly, knowing we are safe, seen, and held. Faithful God, we come not in fear or urgency, but in trust, acknowledging that you have already been at work long before we found words for it. Thanking you for the quiet guidance that has surrounded this life, for the protection that moved ahead of danger, and for the unseen hands that steadied every step through confusion, weariness, and doubt. We honor you for the seeds of love, obedience, and faithfulness that were planted in seasons when no one was watching, when silence felt heavy, when progress seemed hidden, yet you were recording every tear, every whispered prayer, every choice to remain kind, honest, and open, even when it cost something. We offer gratitude for the clarity that is now emerging, for the discernment awakening gently rather than violently, for the peace that does not erase reality but strengthens the heart to face it without shrinking. We entrust to you this season of transition, asking not for escape or certainty, but for steady wisdom, calm courage, and a willing spirit that can walk forward without rushing or resisting. Teach this soul to recognize your voice in the quiet moments, to trust the inner nudges that lead towards safety and truth, and to rest in the assurance that nothing allowed into their life is outside your care. As it is written, your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." And we receive that promise now, letting it settle deeply, guiding each choice with peace rather than pressure. We give you the weight of what cannot be controlled, the questions that remain unanswered, and the future that is still unfolding, confident that your timing does not rush and your plans do not falter. Bless this home with calm, this heart with steadiness, and this path with light enough for each step, knowing that protection does not depend on striving but on belonging. We dedicate this unfolding journey to you, trusting that what has begun in the unseen will continue with grace, order, and purpose, and that nothing essential will be lost along the way. Thank you for being near in ways both felt and unfelt, for remaining constant when emotions shift, and for holding this life with tenderness and strength at the same time. We rest now in your presence, neither pushing forward nor pulling back, simply walking with you as the next chapter opens. Thank you for praying here together, for allowing this shared moment of stillness and trust. Remember that you are not alone on this path, and may you carry this peace with you gently as you go, until we meet again in quiet expectation. If you feel a quiet stirring to share, you are welcome to let your words rest gently in the comments, not as an explanation, but as an offering. You may write a hope you have been carrying, a pain that has stayed unnamed, a fear that still visits at night, or a question you have never known how to ask. There is no right way to speak here, and no pressure to reveal more than your heart is ready to hold. What is written in honesty is already seen by God, and nothing offered in sincerity is ever overlooked or forgotten. When you put these things into words, you are not exposing yourself. You are allowing light to touch what has been held in silence for too long. You are not alone in this space, even if your journey feels solitary right now. Let this be a place of gentleness, where your truth can breathe, and where love quietly surrounds what you choose to share.